Watch this.
COVID might be over for most of us, but for those with long COVID, it's far from it. One Idahoan says she was handed a death sentence after contracting it in 2020, but now she's been given a reprieve thanks to a COVID clinic. We've already spent some time with Southern Idaho's smallest graduating class. Today, we're talking to a few from the largest, the outlook of the Boise High Brave. From one saint to another, we'll show you what it looked like in North Idaho's St. Mary's days after it was dusted in ash from Mount St. Helens on the anniversary of the volcano's historic eruption. Okay, so the COVID-19 pandemic is over, according to those in charge of declaring such things. Last week, the United States public health emergency just expired. And while life has felt pretty normal for most of us for a while now, there's a small contingent of Idahoans for whom the pandemic may never end. Well, at least what it did to their bodies. Ongoing symptoms, months or even years after infection, have changed lives forever. And they call it long COVID. And the St. Luke's COVID Recovery Clinic specializes in treating people inflicted with it. For some, it's been a literal lifesaver. Here's Andrew Bartline.
Life changes fast. That's a given behind these doors into the St. Luke's COVID Recovery Clinic.
I mean, it's almost like, I would say akin to almost like a cancer diagnosis.
Life-changing.
Isn't this a gorgeous day?
Judy Cross has lived with the changes for 3 years now.
I was having a lot of difficulty breathing, I was coughing.
1,
I have brain fog,
2,
interstitial lung disease, fibrosis.
3.
It's a death sentence after 3 to 5 years. That was scary to me, that was happening.
It's happening to a lot more people too, under the guise of a myriad of symptoms.
Looks like for some of the subset of patients, it might be permanent for them. We have patients that are moving towards disability, and it's very serious, unfortunate side effect of the COVID-19 infection.
Dr. Jody Donovan is the Long COVID Recovery Clinic site director.
At the end of 2020, when we noticed that there were patients that had additional COVID symptoms that were then coined long COVID. From that I basically looked for additional models, which of course at that point in time were pretty slim to none, and that's how I created the COVID Recovery Clinic.
So does it almost feel, in a sense, building the plane while you're flying it?
Yes, exactly, and hoping it doesn't crash.
Because the changes these patients are dealing with,
And it causes a lot of inflammatory issues.
it can be described as a crash itself.
Neuropsychologist identified with some left brain damage, so it was affecting memory and speech and such.
You got brain damage from COVID.
COVID can affect any system in the body,
And Judy,
or every system in the body.
she would know.
I worked as a nurse at St. Luke's for 40 years and took care of everybody else.
But Judy,
This is a whole big change
she's now retired.
whole big change of my life. I felt so guilty that I couldn't go in and help.
Another change. It was her turn to get help.
Liquid oxygen tanks.
1,
Never thought I'd be doing things like Adderall.
2,
But it's making a difference.
3.
Because I'm part of the COVID Recovery Clinic, I'm able to see a doctor more frequently.
Pulmonary fibrosis. It was supposed to be a death sentence. Remember?
But I'm not hitting that.
That changed too.
You are recovering.
I'm recovering. That clinic, being able to go to the cardiopulmonary rehab saved my life.
And her sense of humor.
Ruth.
They also saved that.
Ruth, my tank is Ruth. Remember in the Bible when Ruth committed to Naomi and said, "Whither thou goest, I will go"? Well, she goes with me.
Dr. Donovan says the clinic is noticing common denominators, often people ages 35 to 50, mostly women who've had a serious illness from their initial infection, and anything lasting longer than 4 weeks really begins to start to qualify as long COVID. And there's a long list of things that we're starting to learn about this. You go on the CDC's website, Brian, there's many things listed out, what they're seeing, who are the types of people that are prone to this. But even when we talk with Dr. Donovan, she says, sometimes I have 20-year-olds who don't want to get out of bed. They've had this for months, and they're not living normal lives that a 20-year-old would do, going out with friends. So it's not just happening to older people, it seems that anyone who gets COVID, it's a possibility it could happen to them.
Is there a core of common denominators with this group of people?
There is, and I think it's not exactly hammered out, but they're starting to notice them. There's a lot we talked about with Dr. Donovan, and we'll have that listed out on our website at ktvb.com, because I need to go back through there and hammer them out myself. There's a lot of information that they're starting to learn.
I can't imagine having a lighthearted look at something like this, like Judy does, after literally getting a death sentence just years ago.
She's doing good, though. She's doing good.
Good for her. Amazing. Thanks, Andrew. Okay, so over the next week or so, thousands of Idaho high school seniors will be hitting the hallways for their last day of classes. For Boise High, that was today. And then they're going to be taking those steps across the stage to get the diplomas, setting out on the rest of their lives. Earlier this week, we spoke with seniors from Midvale, with a graduating class there of just 8. And as far as we could tell, the smallest in southern Idaho. Today, we're going the opposite direction. Boise High School is not only the oldest high school in this part of the Gem State. This year, it has the largest graduating class. So we wanted to get a gauge of the next generation from those who have spent their formative years in the center of Idaho's capital city. Boise High's class of 2023, like a lot of others, began their high school years in the middle of a pandemic.
I think that took a toll on everyone.
It was definitely weird. I appreciated the break in ninth grade. I felt like it was good for my mental health, just to kind of take a step back and think about how the world is just bigger than you and that everyone is going through the same thing.
It was definitely tough not seeing your friends, not being around other people. I'm a pretty social person. I like interacting with people, and having that taken away from you can definitely take a toll. It's also like a big lack of motivation to just get up in the mornings and immediately hop on your computer in your room. That was definitely a barrier that I had to get by.
But then coming here, it was hard to connect with other people, because you were just at home seeing the little bubble of their first name, you know?
And connecting with classmates in southern Idaho's largest graduating class,
530 about.
Could be tough.
528 students.
Yeah.
That's in your graduating class.
But not as tough as you might think.
Do you know everybody?
I would say I recognize majority of the people, could put a name on probably over half.
Wow, that's pretty good. Do you know all of them?
Probably not, but I would say 75%.
Really?
Yeah.
Are there perks, pluses to being in a big class, a big school?
Yes, the different perspectives and different stories you get to hear from everyone, and different personalities, I think allows for more collaboration and just a better environment.
That environment has enabled engagement not usually seen in other smaller schools.
I think that you're seeing kids at younger and younger ages that are out here actually wanting to make a difference. There's kids 15 who are starting protests, and I feel like that's something we haven't seen in the past.
I think that's the one thing I like about this school, is that we're very aware of the world around us. Hi, I'm Rosara Albizo. I'm 17 and I go to Boise High School.
Next fall, she'll be attending Whitman College, studying political science and Spanish.
I was 11 when I attended my first protest with my cousins. And then I've continued to be involved with student activism in order to try to create positive change.
In some places, and I'll include Idaho in this, an activist, being an activist or activism has a negative connotation.
Yeah, it does. I think people will, label you as someone who's trying to rebel against rules that don't need to be broken or norms that have been there for years. People are comfortable with what is happening in society right now, but I think a lot of us don't have that luxury of being comfortable. And so I think I'm okay with being labeled as someone who's rebellious in order to achieve that comfortability that I haven't been able to have.
We've got a lot of student activists at Boise High, which is super cool. My name's Esty Tetrick. I'm a senior at Boise High School, and I'm 18 years old.
Esty will be heading to Oregon State to study biology and pre-med. She wants to be an orthopedic surgeon.
Elections. There's a big one coming up next year that you'll be a part of.
I'm excited.
Why?
I don't know. I just think that voting is a really important thing to do, and that lots of times young people don't vote, And I think it's sad that we have this opportunity, whereas like other people in the world don't, and that young kids don't take advantage of it.
Although a lot of people may not like our generation, I think that there are a lot of people that really want to make change. Hi, I'm Evan Good. I'm 18 and I'm a senior at Boise High School.
Evan is planning on studying entrepreneurship at Loyola Marymount in Los Angeles.
I'm really big on business for good. Like, it's really easy to make money when you don't have ethics. It's a lot harder to make money when you do. And so one thing that I'm really hoping that I do is I can work for a business or help start a business that actually gives back to the world.
You see like the extremes that are happening right now in politics, right? Are you pay attention to that kind of stuff?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your generation, that's also there, or is it less?
100%. I think it's totally there. And I think that the extremes and the polarization goes away with more education. One of my favorite classes at Boise High was my econ class. And one thing I noticed is, like, you sit here and you make all these different political opinions, but you don't actually know anything behind the economics. So you're like, oh yeah, like I really believe this, but why? And a lot of people can't answer that why. And when you educate yourself, you actually can answer that why. And I've noticed that I've become a lot more moderate once I've done that.
I feel like there's always going to be some level of polarization, but maybe less so, just because we've seen how it's negatively impacted our politics now.
I mean, we're human. We're obviously going to have these biases that, you know, we carry with us. But I think that polarization comes from older generations that is kind of inherited into our own generation, especially if we're talking about like the political side of things. A lot of us get our political ideologies from our families. I think we've kind of have found this middle ground to essentially get together, express our opinions, our concerns, and put that aside. And I think that's something that is very unique to our own generation.
Quite a juxtaposition compared to Midvale seniors that we spoke to earlier this week. All three of those from Boise High, though, even though they are all headed out of state for college, they do plan to return to Boise someday because they say they want a say in Idaho's future. Okay, so those same seniors, plus the other 525 in their class, they weren't going to leave school without leaving their mark. You see, this isn't just their last year at Boise High. It's also their beloved principal, Mr. Thompson's, and they were not going to let him go empty-handed. In an Instagram post from the school, they said, "Here we present our first part of the senior gift for our king, Mr. Thompson. You've truly made every day a great day to be a brave, and we will all miss you dearly." Look at that picture. That is amazing. The artist, not Rembrandt, but graduating senior Flannery Strife, who has been doing portraits for a little more than a year now. She was asked to do that just a few weeks ago. And on her Instagram post, she also posted progressive pics of the painting, which are pretty amazing themselves. She really nailed that true image of Mr. Thompson. As we get to the final picture, there it is. Yeah, pretty good. Shading, all that kind of stuff. Yep, even got frame help from her dad, helped putting it together. Flannery told us today she wasn't sure where the idea for the Elizabethan look came from, but it fits.
Well, for us at Boise High, we have kind of a joking relationship with Mr. Thompson, and it kind of just represents that, you know, we see him as like the king of Boise High, and wanted to give him kind of a serious gift, but also kind of a silly one, because that's just how the student body kind of relates with him.
So at the final student council meeting, two morrows prior, they bid adieu to their king by presenting him his portrait.
How did he receive it?
Oh, really well. He bent over laughing, and he said he tried not to pee his pants laughing. So I think he received it well.
That's not very regal to do that.
No.
Oh, it will take a lot more than that to ruin this royal reputation. God save thee, sire. I love that. Principal Thompson is moving into the district office, by the way, after 11 years at Boise High. He told us today he was incredibly touched by that portrait and found the combination of appreciation, sincerity, and humor to perfectly describe his and his students' mutual admiration for one another. This is just part one of the Boise Brave senior gift. We don't know what part two is. It's supposed to be revealed later this week or next week, but not sure how they're going to top that one. 43 years ago, America was stunned by the eruption of Mount St. Helens. Days later, most of the West Coast was cleaning up the mess it rained on them. KTVB went to Idaho's Panhandle to see how they were handling it. This is the part of the show where we ask to hear from you. If you've never sent us a message before, well, then today is your day. Try it out. Just give it a shot. Text us, the number on your screen, 208-321-5614. Don't forget your name and the hashtag, the208. And always remember, keep them clean, concise, and, clever helps. That way we can share yours at the end of the show. On this day, 43 years ago, Mount St. Helens erupted, shooting out rocky debris, scalding steam, and gas, sweeping down the volcano's slope at more than 683 miles an hour, and also into the air at temperatures of 572 degrees. That eruption killed 57 people, wiped out 200 houses, and 4 billion board feet of trees. While the volcano is located way over in southwestern Washington, its eruption impacted places far away. Some of the 540 million tons of ash released from the eruption hit North Idaho, like the town of St. Mary's. Former KTVB reporter Bob Cooper went there days later to find out how the small town was handling the historic event.
Some of the thickest layers of volcanic fallout landed in the North Idaho community of St. Mary's. 8 days later, the first National Guard trucks arrived. Some folks in St. Mary's think the Guard should have been here much sooner. They're about at the end of their rope and their resources when it comes to coping with volcanic fallout. Even the rain hasn't helped much. In some places, ash has washed down hills and compacted into muddy drifts several inches deep. And as soon as the rain stops, the ash dries and becomes blowing dust again. People cleaning up at the St. Joe Valley Clinic say the government hasn't done much to help.
We got more than Spokane did, and they already put a disaster out before we were, so. And this stuff is terrible to work with.
State Senator Cy Chase is another St. Mary's resident who isn't happy with the government's performance. The Senate Minority Leader says top National Guard officers insisted last week that the Guard couldn't do much to help.
There's the question now, as far as I'm concerned, they can do a lot, but at first they indicated they didn't have any equipment, but now they seem to tell us they do have equipment. And I think that if they come in here now and start cleaning up on the back streets and some of the aprons of the pavements around here, there's a lot they can do if they want to.
Chase is upset that Governor John Evans waited 3 days to visit North Idaho. He thinks that was too long. Chase says once the governor from southern Idaho could see for himself that there was a real problem in northern Idaho, help was on its way.
I think it's time, though, that they realize that, that northern Idaho exists and that we help to pay the taxes up here and help support the state as well as the southern part of the state.
But despite their frustration, people here are doing their best to clean up St. Mary's. And just as the volcanic fallout is clinging to the town is clinging to its sense of humor. Bob Cooper reporting from St. Mary's for Newsbeat 7.
Ah, yes, Newsbeat 7, precursor to the 208, by the way. One of the many sights to see in the 43-year-old film that you just watched there, including, did you notice Bob's bell-bottom jeans? And how about the paperboy taking a swing at the other kid along the fence? Scientists say Mount St. Helens the eruption was monumental in advancing technology used in predicting tectonic activity. Scientists, they call them volcanologists. They studied Mount St. Helens in the years after the eruption. They could make accurate predictions of individual eruptions thereafter. And by the way, Mount St. Helens, she's still active with her most recent eruption back in 2008.
Well, if you were up early this morning, you may have seen an unusual looking sunrise, a smoky sunrise. Thanks to David in Caldwell for submitting this photo of that smoky sunrise over Caldwell this morning. This looks like maybe a little bug on the lens, but actually that's a hot air balloon. If you can see the picture a little more clearly, you could see that. So really good capture there. And then Terry Jensen took this photo also from Caldwell of the sun coming up through that haze, which is wildfire smoke. So we have a lot of things in play right now that might make you check the calendar and think maybe it's middle of July instead of middle of May. We have heat, we have air quality alerts, and we have wildfire smoke. So that smoke coming in from fires burning up in Alberta, Canada, coming from the north to the south. The entire state of Montana right now under an air quality alert. Things here in southwest Idaho, as we zoom in a bit, not bad. Remember, green is good, yellow is moderate. Boise sitting at moderate right now, but I think we'll stay relatively clear with just that light haze in the morning hours. We're at 83 degrees in Boise right now. A little bit of mountain storm activity is bubbling up over Sun Valley. This should dissipate, of course, as the sun starts to go down. That area of low pressure finally off to the east. That means we'll start drying out and warming up pretty rapidly here across southwest Idaho. Look at the 7-day forecast. You can see 90 degrees tomorrow. We'll hover in the low 90s with sunshine over the weekend. Then our next cold front comes in late Sunday, knocking temperatures back down for Monday. More of the 208 coming up next.
A lot of you still remember the eruption of Mount St. Helens all these years later, like this one from Jill in Boise. I was living in Moscow when it blew. We had to wear a mask to mow the lawn for several years. And of course, a lot of people saying, yeah, it went all over. Like Dale, living in Colorado Springs, got some ash from Mount St. Helens. The maturity and understanding these seniors have is an attribute to our public schools, despite the feelings of many that public schools are not good enough for their children. Kudos to their teachers, says Ann. Loved hearing from the Boise High seniors. Sure hope those kids find their way back to Idaho, says Jack in Boise. Boise High seniors, wow, the future looks bright. I am 80, and I could not be more proud of the future generation. A lot of those coming in today as well. Thank you for sending those in. We'll see you back here tomorrow.